In this lesson, we'll take a look at a few ways we can bake animation in Maya. When we bake an animation, we essentially convert it to keyframes. So this is great for procedurally driven animation, like a cycle or perhaps something driven by an expression or dynamics. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few ways we can go ahead and bake an animation down. If we were to hit play in this scene, we have our watchman being chased by our UFO. And this is the same idle that we created in the previous lesson. Alright, so let's say we have the animation stop at frame 100. So we'll start with our watchman. We'll go ahead and go to Show NURBS Curves, and I'll grab all of his controls, and then head over to the graph editor. I'll use the perspective and graph layout. Alright, so from here, let's go ahead and take a look at his keyframes. You can see the cycle stops at frame 19. So let's go ahead and bake from 20 to 100. In order to do so, again, once we have our object selected or the channels that we'd like to bake down, we can now go to Curves, Bake Channel, and head over to our Bake Channel options. Let's go ahead and reset the settings. Alright, so watch this. Again, we can choose our time slider, or we can choose a start and end time. And then, we can go ahead and set the range that we'd like to bake. So that's 20 to 100. Simplify, this essentially tells us how many keys Maya will create. So with 1, that means it's going to create a key every frame in this range. Now, if we were to go ahead and hit apply, you can see that that's a lot of keys. Look how dense that is. And someone would have to go ahead and clean this up to optimize this file. Alright, so instead of doing that, let me go ahead and show you another option we have. Let's undo that back. We can go ahead and work with Sparse Curve Bake, and that's going to keep the integrity of our function curve, just creating enough keys to make sure that the animation still plays the same way. So if we were to go ahead and turn on Sparse, now watch this. When we click on Bake, take a look. We have only the keys we need, and when we play through the animation, it plays back just fine. Fantastic. So that's how we can work with Bake Channel. Now let me go ahead and show you Bake Simulation. It's kind of the same thing, but we have more options in the Bake Simulation option box. So we'll choose Edit, Keys, Bake Simulation, and I'll go ahead and reset the settings. So again, we can go ahead and choose what we'd like to bake. I'm going to go ahead and grab from Channel Box just to make sure that only our Translate Y and Rotate Z channels will receive keyframes. We don't want to clutter our animation with static keys. So because of that, we wouldn't want to use, let's say, all keyable. We'll just go ahead and grab from Channel Box and grab those two channels. And then we can go ahead and specify our range. So we'll go ahead and have this set to 1 and 100. We could also choose to bake to our base layer or an animation layer. And we'll take a look at animation layers very soon. We have that option. Now, something I'd like to point out to you is Smart Bake. It kind of works like Sparse Curve Bake. And take a look, we can access it from here. But Smart Bake, this is actually really cool because it's like using Sparse Curve Bake, but then we can go ahead and choose how many keyframes we create. Whereas with Sparse, it's just going to guess the amount of keyframes that should be made. So with Smart Bake, if we go ahead and turn this on, again, we can now go ahead and choose how many keys or how few keys we create. Now, chances are we're going to want to decrease our fidelity to create more keys, because if we don't, if we just use Smart Bake with this very simple animation, you might notice that it's not going to bake it properly. So let's go ahead and take a look. We'll just go ahead and play through the animation to see how the UFO moves. Alright, so knowing that, we can then go ahead and work with Smart Bake. Let's go ahead and click Apply. Take a look, it has only created 2 keys. And watch the animation. It's not moving the right way. Alright, so let's go ahead and undo this back. What this means is that we'll need to decrease our fidelity to create more keys. Let's go ahead and drop this value to about 2. So now watch, if we were to go ahead and click on Bake, you'll see that Maya's going to go through and calculate each frame in this range of 1 to 100. Now watch this. Once it has stopped, you can see we only have a few keys here. And take a look at something else. if we were to take a look at our graph editor, you'll see that we have a really nice looking set of function curves. Sweet. So that helps us to save a lot of time. Fantastic. All right, so that's how we can go ahead and bake animation. Again, this is great for procedurally driven animation where we want it to stop at a certain time. Now, how about our Watchman here? He's still running. That's because we have to turn off our cycle. So if you want, you can go ahead and grab all of his controls. You can head over to curves, pre-infinity, constant, curves, post-infinity, constant. And now watch, if we were to go ahead and play through the animation, I'll go ahead and hide curves, by the way. So we can just focus on our models. Now when we play through, after frame 100, the animation will stop on both objects. So again, in this lesson, we've taken a look at a few ways we can bake animation in Maya.